So my name is Mary. This is my husband, George Anastasio, and we have been married for 20 years. We just celebrated 20 years in November. We met, it's actually a funny story, so anyone that's been in Prince William County for any length of time may have heard of a company called Incredible Universe. Short-lived, came in, here for about a year and a half and left, but we worked there together in the cell phone department. And we met when the company was opening, we were training together. We couldn't stand each other. We wouldn't talk to each other. We didn't want to look at each other. We sat as far away as we could from each other. George was just coming to town from South Carolina, didn't have a car, didn't know his way around. So when our team went out to play volleyball one night, I felt sorry for him because he didn't have a ride and begrudgingly offered him a ride, which he accepted. And it was, we should say, all uphill from there.
So we dated roughly for about 3 years. I had promised her that when she moved out, that I would propose. However, there was a certain caveat around it. There was a certain song that if we ever heard it together, that she knew I was going to propose. So anytime we were together and this song came on, I was flipping the station or hitting the off button. So the day that she moved out, March 14th, 1998, we finished moving out. We went and had a nice dinner in Alexandria at the Chart House, and we took a stroll. And as we got to the end by the pier, I had a tape recorder in my pocket. And every time I went to hit play, a plane was coming because it's right by National Airport. Finally, it was perfect timing. Moon came out, no more planes. I hit play and this tape recorder. The song came on, I got on my knee and I asked her to marry me.
You should say the song though. We were country music fans back then, and yeah, not anymore, but you should tell them.
It was Michael Peterson, From Here to Eternity.
Okay, so in this area, this is totally George's wheelhouse. He is the romantic of our family. He is constantly and intentionally and purposefully thinking of weekend getaways and trips to do things that I've always wanted to do, date night to make sure that we stay really focused on our relationship in this crazy part of life that we're in right now where our kids kind of dictate our schedules. So when you ask about, when we consider our most romantic moment, I think about, you know, these trips we've taken and walks on the beach and great conversations, but I also think about all the little things that he does every single day of our marriage that make it what it is. And so he makes me coffee every morning and brings it to me. He lets me sleep in on Saturdays and gets up and makes breakfast for the kids. Of course, that could be self-preservation. But seriously, the way he Tim, I'm gonna have to edit that part. Can you edit that part? The bigger things that he does for me is the way he makes me feel. I know I am loved by him. I know I am cared for by him. He makes me feel like there's no one else in the world he can want to be married to. And so these daily little things that might seem small really are what have made our marriage what it is. So I would say, knowing George, our most romantic moment hasn't happened yet. I think the best is still yet to come.
You know, the most challenging time was several years ago. We just had our first child, and Mary was a stay-at-home mom. I promised her that, hey, you know what, I'll take care of things. I was working, had a great job, traveling a lot, and all of a sudden, job ended, got laid off. And to go from being able to be the provider to trying to figure out what next steps were, and it was very hard. It was, we just had our first kid. It was very scary.
I think one of the great things about us is that God has made us two completely different people that go together very well. And so the things that stress him out and keep him up at night are not the things that stress me out and keep me up, and the things that stress me out don't stress him out. And so we can kind of keep each other in check when we go through a hard time like this. And we can kind of call each other out a little bit and say, oh, I kind of thought you trusted God, and how's that working for you right now? How are you doing with that right now? And that's easier to have that conversation and do when you're not stressed up or amped up about the same thing, because he stresses out on things that I don't stress out about, and vice versa.
You know, I think for me, how God challenged, worked through me was, it made me realize that I was putting my faith in the wrong things. I was putting my faith in a job and not putting my trust in Him. And I have to admit, when it happened, I was very angry. I remember coming to the church and sitting at the back of the sanctuary, just shaking my head, refused to go down close to the altar. And then it made me realize that this is my own doing. I was totally putting my faith in the wrong thing. So through prayer, through having a strong, very devout Christian wife, and not afraid to call me out like she did, it made me realize that this is totally God's plan, and it's not about me.
So when I think about marriage advice, I don't think that it's anything that can be very prescriptive, because all marriages are different. But one thing I would say is that I believe it's like anything with life. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if you put in selfishness and anger and impatience, and if you're keeping score, your marriage is going to show that fruit. If you're putting in love and mercy and forgiveness and kindness, which are all easy things to do and easy things to say and hard things to do, but I think your marriage is going to reflect what you're putting into it.